Hi, Narusha. I have a question.
Hello.
Hi, I couldn't find the recording for December 18th on the portal or on like the Teams. I was wondering if it was recorded or not.
Oh, yeah, it was recorded, but I think the team member had not uploaded it. I will
Oh,
ask
okay.
them and just let you know. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
It will upload as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello everyone. Sorry, it's slightly late today. Can you hear me?
Yes, Gaurav. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, hi.
Hi,
Hi,
Sarah.
I'm good. Hi, everyone. How are you doing all?
Good, good.
Okay, then let's start this session. Please open your project that we were working. We need to just finish it within few days, and then we'll move to the next things, the conceptual things mainly. We need to actually complete Redux, which is very important in React. It is actually a state management tool, as well as we need to complete testing as well, testing things. I found mainly while I was working, React developers are struggling with testings, including me as well. So there is actually a new concept apart from building your application. We'll do that as well, and later we'll move to different rendering techniques in React. We'll implement different frameworks, like mainly we'll do with Next.js. There we'll see many rendering things, and later we'll realize that React is not that good for building web application if you do not care about something like a server-side rendering, search engine optimization. We'll see that those things as well. This is actually currently, until now, we are discussing mainly with React. We need to actually include many things in React, because you know the difference between library and framework. Can anyone tell the difference between library and framework? And what do you think? React is a library or a framework? Do you have
Library
some?
just
React is a library, and
Yeah,
library just
and
functions.
yeah, and library do not have many functionalities inbuilt, right?
yeah,
But frameworks contains many functions which are inbuilt. If you are familiar with other front-end tools like Angular or Vue.js, so you can see many functionalities available in there. But in React, there are many functionalities which are missing because it is a library. Library is a minimal thing which do not contains all the functionalities that you need. So you need to actually implement it yourself. So we as a React developer think that instead of inventing a new wheel, there are alternative tools or alternative packages which are already implemented by somebody else. Then we will install those third-party libraries or packages into our React application and perform some things. But everything can be done with React. For example, you may have installed React Router DOM in your React application sometimes, but that can be done in React itself without installing that package. We can do ourselves as well. But it will take some time first, uh, and it will not be that much stable as well that you think. You need to implement or release many versions, as well as that will be somehow complex. So that's why we will implement some inbuilt tools out there. And two of them are React Router DOM, which is for routing, state management in React, which is mostly Redux is used. We'll talk about other tools, but we'll discuss about Redux only. And for testing things, React testing library nowadays is quite most popular. So we'll deal with these three things. These are really important. And React route, Redux and React testing library are somehow will take some time to discuss. Okay, so we need to discuss those things in future. But let's start our current project today. Okay. So please open your project with VS Code and start this application. Let me wait for 1 minute, and then I will start this session. Okay, then let's continue from where we were yesterday. We said that we will talk about, we will actually do CSS in our session. But before doing that, let's first do React things. CSS is not that much difficult to do, but it will take some time to learn. Okay, that's why you may feel sometime like you cannot write CSS which are nicer, which looks nicer. So it will take some time. That is because of the lack of the practice, I think. But React is to learn conceptual things. It is slightly difficult, but it will not take that much time. So let's first see some of the things regarding React, and if we have time later, we'll come back to CSS as well, and we'll discuss what did we do there, or what are those settings which are actually applied and what are they doing. Okay, let me share my screen. And do you have any question, guys, before this session? Right, so let's do that. Okay, I think yeah, yesterday okay, now we have two servers, right? Why do we have two servers now? Why do I need to start two servers individually?
I think one is joined and another one is
Yeah,
byte.
yeah. One is that yeah, that is wait. Another one is the JSON server, right?
Just
We are using that JSON server to implement to simulate the backend behavior like database or APIs, or store some data in there. You can see db.json. It is storing our data there, but we haven't implemented that functionality yet. But we can still start this server, the JSON server. Then you need to, what you need to actually take care is you need to open two terminal and start in one terminal, start React, another terminal, start this JSON server. Then first I need to go to my project. Let me reverse this scroll. Okay, so I need to go to feedback app, cd feedback app, and uh, here in feedback app, let me start React by and dev command. And in another terminal, I will start this JSON server. So what was the command to start JSON server? We looked at the documentation, right? We do not know by ourselves. Then we will look at the documentation. So you can always go to the documentation of individual packages that we are installing in the React application. Like here are the packages that we have installed until now. These two are already there when we were installing React with Vite. Later we installed these prop types, right? And later we installed this React icons as well. We installed UUID package. We installed component package. So we installed yesterday JSON server, right? You know what are the use cases of all of these packages, right? Are you confused about any of these?
UUID, I don't remember.
Yeah, UUID. Why did we use UUID? Can anybody explain, please?
To generate unique IDs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and just to generate unique ID, we used UUID. And why are we using prop types?
to implement props.
Yeah, to validate props, right? To check props. Yeah, check props, right? And why are we using these React icons?
For the cross sign to remove the feedbacks.
there's a button which is a cross sign, and that cross sign was not available itself in the
Correct, yeah. For example, if I input, there is no feedback because I think I removed. Adding new feedback. So if I add new feedback here, there is an icon here currently. We are implementing it with React icons. There are a lot of icons there which we can use. Currently, we are using only one. So why are we using these styled components?
to generate reusable components easily.
Reusable components.
Reusable components with default stylings.
Okay. Yeah, mainly we can create reusable components with React, but with styled component, the main use of styled component is it will help to write something better, right? It will help us to write CSS better, isn't it? We are writing CSS in a better way with styled components. So yesterday we wrote some CSS here. These are CSS, right? CSS in a component structure. This is like a component, but in there we have CSS. You can say style component is there too, which will help us to write CSS in a better way. Okay. And JSON server, yeah, we installed this yesterday. This is helping us to start a server. This is a fake server. We will use this only for the learning purpose. Maybe if we have time, we will implement inbuilt backend as well as database service coming from Firebase. It is really easy to use because we don't have to actually create backend as well as database. Firebase provide all of these functionalities. Maybe if you want to implement real login functionalities, login with Google or login with email or login with phone number, and store some of the data after login, then maybe the Firebase will be good alternative while you are learning. So if we have time, maybe we will implement Firebase and create one project as well, which will help you to understand how real database is saved and how can we query that from the database. And we'll learn NoSQL database there as well. So this is also NoSQL database. NoSQL means database in JSON format. Here you have your database in JSON format, right? So here you don't have the concept of table because in SQL database we have a concept of table. You know, there we have RDMS, something like relational database. Here we don't have that table structure. Here we have this JSON format. Here data is stored in JSON format. It is the behavior of NoSQL database. Okay, so yeah, these are the packages. In the real project, you will see a lot of packages installed there. Maybe if I have one project, let me see if I have in my GitHub repository, then we'll see. Let me see in the next folder. Okay. I'm just searching for the projects that I have on GitHub, which I can share. Let me see if I have some. Let's see this one. This was the project I created for the React session, the previous React session. Oh, here we have backend and the front end. This is the front end for React. Backend is implemented with Node.js, and you can see on the front end, this is the similar structure that we have here as well, right? We have public source and yeah, public source. This is created with create React app. That's why we have our index.html in public, and here inside src you can see our structure. Then we have components here. Inside components as well, we have few components. This is just to learn. That's why it is not a complete project. But let's see here in package.json, we can see there are few more packages. And as long as your project is growing, you will see a lot of packages are added here, right? Many packages will be added. If you see React itself, React is in GitHub actually, right? It is not a concept of single repo, but we can still see the package.json file there. And now, can you see how many dependencies or dev dependencies? These are all dev dependencies here. All of them are dependencies which are required by the React in development mode. Here you can see a lot of packages are installed while building React itself. And down here, maybe, yeah, all of them are dev dependency. I think there is no dependencies. Yeah, you can see a lot of packages are added here. This is the behavior you'll see in the real React project as well, but it is not a good practice installing a lot of packages if you can do it in a simple way. But if that is already built and it is a complex to do, little complex to do, and if it is not making your application that much, if the particular package is not having more load on your application, then you can install it simply. And if you install a few packages, then your packages will start growing and you'll have a lot of packages there. And this is also what you will need to care. For example, the packages will eventually expire sometimes, or maybe they may be deprecated. Then you need to upgrade it. So while you are upgrading it, you need to make sure that other functionalities of your application will not break. Okay, so you need to maintain the dependencies of the packages. That is one you can say drawback, or if you can actually upgrade it in time, then that is not a drawback, but that is complexity in React project to make your packages up to date all the time. Okay, sometimes you cannot do that. For one package will impact another functionalities, will break another functionalities, and you cannot simply upgrade it sometimes. Then at that time you need to make sure that everything will not break before upgrading your package. Okay, that's all about these things that I talk about, these packages that we are installing all the time. So let's do our work now. Yeah, somebody asked me yesterday, I think, when you click here and when you write this input feedback, then I can simply submit it, right? Now this rating here is still selected and this input fields here is still selected as well. It is easy to remove this input, but you'll need to do something here to actually remove this one, the selected person. So can somebody have some idea how can I remove this input field? This is still written there. I can hit once again and same input will be sent here. So do you have some idea how can I clear this input after I click on this submit button?
On submit, like set the state of like the field to be like empty string.
Oh, okay. So then let's go to on submit. The on submit is coming from feedback form, right? And here we have on submit is handle submit. This is handle submit. So what do we need to do? On submit here, we have a function here. Do we need to do something inside this function?
Yes, I think.
So what do you think? What should we do there?
Set feedback to an empty string.
On line where? Immediately after function or at the end of the function?
Like after like adding
After adding
The
feedback.
adding
after line
After.
number 35.
Oh, okay.
the
Right
previous
here.
Yeah.
So we need to we need to clear this input. So this input is coming from this text, right? This text is the value of the input, right? Let's go down. Here you can see value is text. So we can make that text empty, right? We can write set text, and make this empty. Let's see. So yeah, okay. So let me once again input the feedback and click on submit. Oh, okay, it is gone now, but this rating is still there. So do you have idea how can I clear out this rating? It will be easy if that rating is also here, right? But it is here. Do you think if I clear this out and it will go from here?
I don't think so. Like I've tried doing that. So
We have to remove
it's
the
stopping that.
checked attribute from input, I guess.
That's right. That's correct. So where is that? Where is that checked attribute? On which component?
The form components, something.
It is
Feedback
inside
React.
this
component, yeah.
feedback rating, right? I think. Is it there?
Yeah.
Currently 7 is selected, means currently this is activated. What you need to do is, where is it coming from? Rating, right? What you need to do is go here and somehow you need to set this rating to the initial value, which is 0. Once I click on that on submit. Do you think you can implement that? So what you need to do is, once you click here on submit, here, once this function is executing, once it is added to the feedback, you need to actually set this rating to the initial value. You need to call set rating there and make it 0, set rating, and provide value 0. Do you have some idea how we can do that?
Yeah, like on submit, we can call the feedback ID and like clear it out at the end.
Okay.
It's more like passing the children prop to parent, right?
Yeah, currently children prop, like you can say this is a state updating
Yeah.
function. If you have this state updating function here, then you can call this from directly, right?
Yeah.
That's also fine. Do you think you can try this first and implement it? Maybe you can send a pull request after doing this. I think this is not that much difficult. Okay, just try it first yourself. This is somehow tricky. That's why I'm asking you to try it yourself. Maybe you will learn something like handling states from one component to other components. Okay, you understood what is the problem we have? We need to clear the input field which is checked once we click on the submit button. All right. And I'll just ask you once again. So let me add some to do here. So here you need to clear the input rating as well. Okay, just complete this to do. So I'll look at it and we'll complete it ourselves as well while in the session as well. So I'm giving you some time to do it yourself. Okay, any question? Okay then. So now we do not have initially feedbacks here. Currently, we do not have feedbacks because you can assume that we have deleted it. We don't have this. So now let me delete this one then. We don't want this data because the feedback is coming from our database, you can assume. This is like a separate URL. This is a database. Then we need to start our another server here. And the command to start another server was, let's go to JSON server once again. You can always look at the documentation. We always look at the documentation for new packages. We do not know what is there, right? If we go to the documentation, then we have the brief description here, and we have a table of content which is telling about how to use this package. So we installed it already using yarn command. We have this data already in db.json. Now you can use this command to start your server. Okay, so instead of writing this command all the time, actually I need to write this command. Let me go there. If I write this one, maybe it will start on port 3000, and that is already taken in my system actually. But if that port is not taken, then it will work on your system. So I can actually supply port 4000, the new port. Let me hit enter. Now it is opening on port 4000, and see this db.json is generated here. So if we go to this port now, this is actually coming from React, that JSON server. Here are our, we have, it is coming from here, I think, right? Not here. So we have one problem there. I started this application in the root folder. That's why another file is created here. I need to start it inside feedback app. That's why that is the problem. So let me do one thing. Let me clear this out. Let me change the folder structure somehow. Let's do one thing. Here inside feedback app, let's create Frontend, and let's create another folder called backend. And inside Frontend, we need to put this, all of this file. Let me go to File Explorer, and maybe I can do this from here. So let me see if I have some hidden file here. Ignore is there. So I need to select all of this except backend, db.json, and frontend. Put this all inside frontend. Now everything is inside frontend, and inside backend I need to supply this db.json. Okay. Now I have a different folder structure here. This is frontend and this is backend. Now there are some changes. Let's go to feedback app first, and now let's go to frontend. Okay, I can start React from here. React is started. Now I can start. First, let me go to that backend folder. I have this frontend and backend here. So here I can use this command to start this JSON server, and I can write port. Okay. That is not installed. That wasn't installed there, but I think this is installed globally. That's why it is working here. But the proper way is, because I installed this JSON server yesterday inside this frontend project, right? So what I can do is I can install it here in the backend. So I can remove this one from here. In order to remove some package in your project, you need to write yarn remove command, JSON server, Something is wrong because we need to go to feedback app and Frontend first. And then I can write yarn remove JSON server. It is now removed from there. Now I can go to backend once again and here, right? And I can write yarn add JSON server. Okay, now here you can see JSON server is added, and we once again have another node underscore module. We need .git ignore file here because we want to ignore these node underscore modules. So I can write node underscore modules in there, and that should be ignored now. Now we have lesser file changes. So we changed the folder structure. We have backend here, frontend here. Now I can go to backend and write this command inside backend port 4000. Now it is opening on port 4000, and this is the frontend which is opening in port this one. Okay. So these are two different folders. Now you can have your real backend here. You can have your real frontend here. So later we will see if we have some command which we can write once to start frontend and backend both at the same time. But currently, instead of writing this command all the time, this command, can we write this command somewhere so that we don't need to write this command all the time?
Do you mean like a bash file?
No, inside the project, inside here somewhere.
We can
Can
add
we
script.
We can generate new script.
Yeah, correct. So if you go and see in the front end in package.json, there you'll see script, and there we have that command, right? So we need to add one script there as well. That is, this is actually JSON. So you need to make sure that you are writing everything in JSON format, scripts, and the value is whatever you are writing here, right? So actually scripts is accepting object values, object-like values. These are JSON actually. So let's write something, maybe server. And inside the server, we have this value. So now, do you think I can use server? Will it work? Now, can I use yarn server?
Yes.
And this will actually execute that command, right? Let's see. Yeah. Now this is our backend, and this is our frontend. So yarn dev is our frontend, or you can change this command at any time. Okay, if you want, for example, you can go here and say this is like client. Let's say this is client, and that one is server. Now you can go to frontend and write yarn client. Now client is opened. Here you have yarn server, and this server is opened here. All right. Any question until now? Okay then. So let me commit at this point. Changed folder structure here. Now this is like backend, right? We have something coming from our backend. The API route is now. You can see we have some API route here. Yeah, this one. This one is your API. So this one is your API. What you can do is use this URL in your React sorry, in your React application. How do you think we can use, how we can fetch this data from this API in our React application? Now, please help me, and I will just follow your steps. What should I do to fetch this data in our React application?
Async await function.
Go inside React, right? Here, maybe inside app, right? And somewhere inside app component, because feedback is located there. We need feedback here, right? Inside app component.
Yes.
So go here, and what should we need to do first?
Create an async function.
Async function. Okay. So let's use function expression from today. Okay. Until now we are using function declaration. There is a concept of hoisting in React, in JavaScript actually. Just look at those resources I have added in Bootcamp portal. There you'll see other concepts that we haven't already discussed maybe. Just let me know if you have some confusion regarding those concepts. Hoisting is just a name. It is like accessing your values before declaring the variables. We saw that behavior previously, right? With var keyword, with function declaration. We can use our function declaration. We can call this function declaration from here and create this function here. That is called hoisting. Access the value before creating it. So it will not happen in arrow function or function expression. Let's use arrow function from today, maybe. Okay. So here we will write fetch feedback. So you said async await, right? Is this syntax that I'm writing, it is correct, or do I need to?
Is correct.
Oh, okay, great. So what should we do to fetch the feedback now?
We need to await.
Okay, we need to await. That's right. And what should we write here?
Use the
Fetch.
fetch. Yeah.
Now
Fetch.
URL.
And this is the URL, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In string format. Okay, then we will find a response here. And then
We need to like
JSONified.
parse response in JSON format.
okay, the response, this data is in JSON format, right? You can see here.
Yeah, exactly.
This is JSON format. Now we need to convert that to JavaScript object using that JSON object. So our JSON format data is here in response. So we need to convert that to JavaScript object using this JSON object, JSON function. So now here we have our data. Is this correct? What I'm writing here?
Looks accurate.
Would it also be
Something.
the sync?
Do we need to await like response?
Yeah, we need to await this response.json as well, because this will also provide us. What is this providing?
promise?
Promise, yeah. Then we will write await. So finally our data is here. And what should we do now after having our
like
data here?
Set feedback to data.
Yeah, correct. Now we can write set feedback this data. But this is just a function, right? Where do we need to call this?
Can you make it to call itself immediately afterwards? I don't know what you call it.
Immediately. Okay.
Yeah, immediately.
Call it immediately. So we did. So then we have this set feedback, which will update this feedback. Once feedback is updating, what will happen? Once the state changes, what will happen in React?
The whole app will re-render.
This will re-render, means once again this function will be called. Once again this will set the feedback. Once again feedback is changed, whole app is going to re-render. This is like going in infinite loop, right?
Yes.
Right.
So we cannot call that function directly there. Then what should we need to do?
Use effect.
Yeah, use effect. That's why we need use effect there. So let's go in use effect. And we can actually call that function once inside use effect, right? So at this point, we need to supply some dependency here. And here inside use effect, what we will do is call this function. We are just calling this function here. And you can write now the variable, state variable here inside dependency. As long as this variable is not changing, your use effect will not run. But we are not using, most of the time it is better to write dependencies which are inside use effect. Currently they are here inside your function. It is like inside use effect, right? You can write this function anywhere because you are calling it here. But let's not care about this one right now. And this function can be anywhere because we can just call it from here. So now what will happen? This function will first, this component will first render. At the end, this use effect hook will run, and there it will fetch the data. Now it is going to execute this function, and then this will set this feedback, and feedback will be now updated. If feedback is updating, then component will re-render. It will once again uh, uh, actually execute all of the code. And will this use effect hook run at the end in second rendering of the component? Because we have that single dependency, empty dependency list, it will only run once, that we discussed previously, right? Later we will add some variables here. If you have some variables inside, most of the time if you have some variable inside use effect hook, then we'll list those here inside dependencies. Currently you can write feedback here as well. So if feedback is changing, value of feedback is changing, then this use effect hook will run at the end. Otherwise it will not run. So it will run with respect to the dependencies added here. If you have dependencies, otherwise if you have empty dependencies, it will run only once. So let's see here. I think it will work now, right? Or do you think we still need to do something here?
Don't we need to set it so that it will update the API once you submit new
I think
feedback?
we need to handle the error.
We need to handle error. Okay. Yeah, that is also great. Yeah, that is good thing that you said. Sometimes we have error. We will receive error somewhere here, right? While we are fetching.
Yeah.
Maybe the URL is not working. It is not correct. Maybe server is down sometimes. If our server is not started, then it will not work here. Then everything will crash. So how can we handle errors then? Any idea?
Try
Inside
and
async await
catch.
function. Correct. Yeah. We will use try catch block. So inside try, we are writing our appropriate or successful code. So if everything is okay, then this will execute. If there is some error, then this will execute. You can simply print something here, like currently you can just console log that error. But later, what you can do is have another state here, maybe error or error message, then update that state from here and print that error message somewhere in your application. Okay. So, yeah. Now we handled our error as well. Do you think we need to implement something more, or is it fine now?
Correct. While calling the fetch feedback is a async function, right? So do we need
Mhm.
to use await inside use effect?
Oh, okay. So we are not taking something returned from this function, right? That is also important thing that you asked. This is This is async function, and we are calling this function here. So don't we need to write await here? Because we are creating some side effect here. Side effect means once we call this fetch feedback function, this will update our state inside this function. If you are returning something from this function, if you are returning something, then you need to write await here, and you need to create another async function. But we are not returning anything from there, right? We are not returning anything from there means we don't want to actually accept something coming from there. We don't want to write something like const result coming from this fetch feedback. If you want to do this, then you need to write await here and async as well. You need to create async await function one more time inside use effect hook. But currently we are not doing this. We are not accepting something coming from fetch feedback. That's why we don't have to actually write async await. We can simply call this function. Everything will be done inside this function. Okay. Is this fine?
Yes.
Okay, let's save it and let's see if everything is okay or not. Something is, oh yeah, it is working, right? This data is coming from your database, actually. Here. So let me add one more and comma here. Maybe so this is the last feedback coming from db.json actually. And the ID is 3, let's say, and this rating is, let's say, 8. If I save it now, so maybe, yeah, it is working. I am assuming that I need to restart that server, so it is working. So now everything is coming from here. This is like a separate folder here, right? We have separate folder. This may be anywhere, and this may not be within your application as well, within your working project directory as well. This is a different thing, right? This is like backend. So everything we are doing inside frontend. So that's why we are writing fetch function there. Later it will be some URL. Then we can replace it with that URL here as well. Okay, is that fine? Okay, any question, guys, until now? All right then. So let's do something interesting then. First of all, what I want to do is I don't want to write this localhost 4000 all the time. Maybe I can only write /feedback, then that will be great as well, right? Let's try to do this if we can implement it somehow. So we can go inside our React application, and it should work, but I'm not sure with it. Maybe we can add some JSON property called proxy here, and let's actually have the URL of our backend here. The root URL of your backend, and then let me save it. Okay, and we will need to remove it from here, but as soon as you update your package.json, you need to restart your servers. So let's go to frontend and let's go to backend as well. And let's start this backend using yarn server command. Let's start this frontend using yarn client command, right? We change this to client command. And let me refresh it. And let's go here. Let's remove this one now. And let me save it. Okay, it is not working. Maybe should be inside. Oh, do we have something is wrong here, I think. Let me go and save it. Okay, it is working. So that proxy, it may not be working. I think it will work with Create React app. I was trying to test it with Vite. I think this one is not working. Maybe we will find some alternative later. What we want is, we don't want to write this all the time. So currently we need to write this. We'll later see two alternatives for this one. We'll first try to implement it in this way. And other way is we will create some environment variables there, and we'll write the root URL of your backend and the frontend, and we'll fetch our root URL from that environment variable sometimes later. Okay, for now we need to continue with this full URL, but we'll see how we can actually later deal with this one. Or you can also try storing it somewhere in URL variable. Right now I am continuing with this one with the full URL. Okay, so what is this error? Actually, let's fix this. Something is wrong here. So React doesn't recognize VZ color prop on DOM element. It is coming from your feedback list component, I think. Okay. VZ color. Oh, here, yeah. We are doing something wrong here. And what is this actually? Rendering. This is rendering feedback all the time. Previously, we used to have card here, I think, right? So your div element will not recognize such kind of custom properties that you create. You cannot write your own here. You can only write the inbuilt HTML attributes there. Okay, you cannot write VZ color here. That's why it was the error. Let me go and see. Now that is gone. All right. So let's do some interesting things here. This is just a GET request. What you are doing here. So do you know about other requests? Like do you know about something about REST API? Can somebody explain quickly what is REST API? Do any of you guys have some idea about REST API, please?
Yeah, REST API are generally the like functions with like certain endpoint which return JSON value.
Okay. Yeah. So this is like a function, that's correct. Yeah. With some endpoint as well. Endpoint means something like this, right? Slash feedback.
Yeah. Yeah, yes, exactly.
So this is like a REST API then.
Yeah.
So, and it will provide you some data coming from your database, right?
Yes.
And can we perform some operation to that REST API from frontend, like request? Currently we are just fetching.
Yeah.
Can we post data as well, or can we delete
Yeah.
as well?
Yes, exactly. We can do that.
Yes.
Yeah. How many operations generally available with REST API that we can send from frontend?
Get, post, delete, put.
Yeah.
Measure for, yeah.
Update.
Yeah. Update. Yeah. So yeah, let's implement them. These are like CRUD operations, right?
Yeah.
Most popular one. So CRUD means C for create means post. Am I correct?
Yes.
Just correct me, okay, if I am not correct.
Yeah.
This is like posting somewhere something.
Mm-hmm.
And another is read.
Yeah.
Means
Get.
this is like
Get.
getting something. This is our read operation, right?
Yeah.
So we have already done this. And another one is update.
Yeah.
So what do we have? the
or
request for
patch?
update. Yeah, we
Or
have
patch,
put
yeah.
The put.
or patch. We'll see that one, both of them. So can you currently tell me the difference between put and patch? Why do we have two here?
Like patch, what patch does is like it only upgrades like for like let's take an example, like it's like updating a version, and like put is like re-updating the whole component.
Okay,
For
then if
instance,
you want, yeah, if you want to just update a small thing, then we will use patch.
patch, yeah,
If you
it's like,
want
yeah,
to overwrite everything, then we'll use put.
put, yes,
Okay, so the another one is delete,
delete, yeah,
and the operation is delete as well, right?
yes.
This is the request actually. These are the name. So let's try to implement these four in our application. We have already done this get request. Let's try to do this. Let's try to create something in our database. Here is our database, right? Now we will create another feedback here. Later, we will create that feedback from here. So we want to create something. Let's have another function like const create feedback, and that should be let me create a simple function first. And can we do create with fetch? We get some data. We got some data with fetch, right? Can we now do, can we create some data, or can we post some data with this fetch as well? We want to send some data from here to our database. The data is coming in feedback. The data is already here. We want to send this feedback to our database.
I think we have to
You
set
can like
some argument like get and post in fetch function.
like yeah,
Okay.
set header type
Oh yeah,
and
right.
everything, yeah.
So we need another argument here for post because we are sending some data here, right? So we will send
Yes.
some payload. So what we will do is fetch, and the first one is the URL because we need to actually provide the URL. This is the whole URL. And in this actually database, we want to send this in this API route, you can say, send that data. Now we will write second argument as well for post. For fetch, we are not writing it. We are just getting some data, right? For post, we will write second argument, and that is an object. So inside that object, we will write some information now. So we will first need to write what is the method that we are using. These are the four methods available, right? Post, get, put, or batch, and delete. So here we will write the name of that method. Currently we are using post, right? We are creating. And here, what is the data type that we are sending from here? And that particular server or that particular API route or that database is actually storing. That is the JSON data, right?
JSON, yeah.
We need to
Yeah.
actually, yeah,
Mm.
we need to actually list that here as well. In which attribute? Do you know the name of the
Content type,
property?
header, and we have to set header content type to be the application
Yeah,
specification.
yeah, we need to have another property called headers, and in that headers we will write content type. Yeah, that's right, content type. I think we'll see if it is working or not. I don't know if this is correct. Okay, so because I'm using this dash here, that's why I'm writing in this single quote. Otherwise, I don't need to write that. So content type, and that is the format is the JSON format. For JSON format, we'll write application/JSON. Finally, let's send the actual data. These are just metadata. Now we are sending actual data. We'll send actual data in another property called body. So here we will send data in this format. Okay, we cannot send data directly. So how can we convert our JavaScript object to JSON format?
Stringify.
Stringify? Yeah.
I
So
think so.
yeah, that is JSON.stringify. There is a function called JSON.stringify already available. So you can just use that function and send your data here. Where is our data? We don't have it, right? Let's say we are accepting it here. So these are like new feedback. We are sending only one feedback here, right? We are not trying to send the whole feedback. We'll send only one that we need to add here at the end. So we will accept it here and we will send it here. What do you think? Is this what I'm writing will work?
Don't you need to call it somewhere?
Yeah, we need to call it somewhere as well. That's correct. So where do you think we need to call this? Create feedback.
Like on
On
submit.
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 Okay, yeah, on submit. Okay, yeah. But we have this here inside our app component, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we need to send it there in this. Where is our on submit? In our feedback form, right? Feedback form. Then we need to send it to feedback form and call it from there. Because we need to call that on submit, that right?
Yeah.
So let's try to send it here in feedback form. This is create feedback. You can write different name as well. And the variable is create feedback. This is the name of the function. Now we send it to create feedback. Sorry, that feedback form. Now let's go there in feedback form. On submit is here, right? Can I call this here?
You need to accept the prop first.
Oh yeah, sorry for that. I need to accept this prop as well. Yeah. Now I can call this, right? And what do I need to send here?
Like text and writing.
So I need to send a feedback, right?
Yeah.
New feedback there. But I don't have whole feedback. I only have text, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Text and writing.
I don't. I also have rating here, but I don't have ID. But I have that ID. Where is that ID here in app.jsx?
App.jsx. Yeah. Exactly.
We are generating it here. Okay. Maybe instead of providing ID here, maybe we can supply that ID directly from here, right? Feedback form.
Yeah. Yes, we can.
And then later send the whole feedback, new feedback here, and just add this feedback here, right?
Yes.
Then let's do it then. Let me cut this from here and I will attach it to our feedback form then. Maybe here while adding the feedback. While adding the feedback, we have text, rating. We need to add ID property as well. This ID is, oh, let me paste it here. And this ID is this one, right? Then we will just call this UUIDv4 there. UUIDv4. Where is this UUIDv4 coming from? This import. Let's go and write this import here. Okay, so now we have our feedback. Okay, instead of writing it here, let's actually save it in new variable, const new feedback. And this is the new feedback. Now let's send this new feedback here. And can I now send this new feedback here as well? Inside create feedback?
Yes, I think.
Yeah, let's send it here. All right, so we are now finally trying to create a feedback. It should go here and update that database, this one. We need to see another feedback added here. So do you think will it work now? Yeah, please.
I'm just a little confused. Will add feedback not do the same thing? Where does add feedback send that data?
From which line?
Line
Line number
38.
38 or okay.
When you
This
call
add
that,
feedback.
but we're sending it to the API, do we still need to do that?
Okay, you mean do we still need to write this?
No. Line 38. Add feedback.
Okay.
Why is that sending the data?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Didn't need that.
So it will send to the API. Then we don't need to send it to our app, right? This is what you are trying to say, right?
Right.
Okay. So what it will do is it will send that data to our API, but we need to fetch that data from API once again. But immediately your data will not arrive here. Then you need to refresh your application once again. We are sending this data from here to our feedback to see the data in real time here.
Okay.
So let's try to not do this then. If we do not do this, then that data will not come here. Where is our add feedback? Do we have add feedback here? Yeah, here. This function will never run, right? And our data will only go to this data db.json will not appear here. You need to refresh your application. So we will do that as well. Okay, let me enable this for now. Later we'll disable and we'll see the effect. So will it work now? Will our API will our data be received by this db.json? Okay, let's try then. I think everything is fine. Let's see the rating and let's see here. I'm sending some data from here and I'm clicking on submit and this should appear here. Oh, okay. Can you see what just happened? This is our new data, isn't it? So it is also coming here in our API as well. Now, if you refresh, it will persist. So let's try to send one more time. And you can see our unique ID is generated here as well, right? This is coming from that UUID v4 package actually that we wrote here. This is the unique ID. So let's try to create another one. So implementing JSON server. And let's say feedback 5. And if I hit on submit, it will go to API. You can see it is coming here and it is going here as well. But if I delete it from here now, it will not be deleted from API. It is still there. If I refresh it, it will still come there. And let's come back to your question. Let me comment this one now. And let's see once again what happened. What will happen if we have some feedback. Wait, and if I click here, it should come here, right? Should come here. We have some feedback, but we don't have some feedback here, right?
Right.
And we need to refresh this application. It will come there after the another refresh, but it is not coming here immediately. This is that's why we are actually synchronizing this state in our application as soon as we send that data in our API as well. So if I refresh this, now we have some feedback. That's why I'm sending this here as well.
Could you achieve the same thing by putting feedback as a dependency?
Feedback as a dependency. Okay. So let's do then. removing this one from here. And you mean writing feedback here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And this feedback is actually, this feedback is the state that we have, and the state will change, but we are not fetching API. We are not fetching API. How will it know then, right? If that is coming from our API or not. We are not immediately fetching. The API is not triggered as soon as our API is updated. Let's try to see then. We still have this commented, and let's see. Let me try to add one feedback. Should be greater than 10 character. If I click here, oh yeah, and is it still disabled? Yeah. And is it coming from here? Okay. So it means something is going on here inside use effect hook. Let's see. Console log and running use effect hook. And it is fetching once again. So we have this fetch here. Let's write console log here, fetching data from DV. And let's see in our inspect in our console. Okay. Now can you see what is going on here? Press it now. Is it going on infinite loop? Right?
Yeah, it's going and going.
Yeah, this is because of that feedback, fetch actually, this one, feedback actually.
Mm.
If I remove this from here, this will not go in infinite loop. Then there we are seeing one important concept. Maybe it's time to explore primitives and non-primitive values now. Now we'll go in some concepts from JavaScript, but what was happening previously? Feedback is not changing, right? It is still same. We are updating it once, then it is not updating. Then why is this going on infinite loop? This dependency means whenever that dependency is changing, this use effect hook will run. It means use effect hook is running all the time, means dependency is also changing all the time. But dependency means this feedback data is not changing all the time, right?
Right.
So what is actually happening there? What do you think? What is wrong with whatever we are doing there? Something is definitely not going well. This is because of our objects. Objects in JavaScript are primitive values. Sorry, non-primitive values. So non-primitive means those values will be stored not directly inside your call stack. Do you remember the picture of JavaScript engine? There we have call stack. And there we have another block. Do you remember that block? Let's go to JavaScript engine then. This is a core idea actually regarding JavaScript. Do you remember this picture? Did we see it sometimes? We have like call stack. This is a thread. You can say everything is what happening here inside this thread. This is like a processor. Everything will execute here. And this is like a browser, web API, whatever we are using, document, right? Whatever you are using, that fetch, everything is coming from this web API. And these are event loop. We wrote on click, on load, on change, everything are coming from events. Sorry, everything are coming from your web events actually, and this event loop will handle those things. But what is this memory heap? We still have another block here. This is actually storing your non-primitive values in JavaScript. Non-primitive values are objects in JavaScript. This will store that objects. So it means it will now store the reference to that object. It will store the object here, and that object will be pointed from here from your call stack. And if you write that object too many times, same object will be pointed from too many locations from call stack. And if you change one property within that object, all the pointers will be updated in the call stack actually. So it will create some confusion. Let me go here and let's do something. We are comparing these numbers with numbers, and this should be equal, right? It should provide true, right? Am I correct? The output will be true, right? On the console.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
Let's see. Somewhere here on line number, coming from line number 12, it is true. So if I have a string as well, but this, what will happen? Is it true or false?
That would be false.
It should be false. It is false. But if you write 2 equals, what do you think?
True.
It is going to be true. That's why I told you previously, do not use 2 equals operator. This is like loose equality operator. We need to use free equality operator all the time. This is a strict equality operator. Now it will check data type as well. Now this is false. But it should be true, right? String and string, right? Both of them are string and these are true. And whatever the value, for example, if I have hello here, value should be same, but I mean, whatever the type here, number or letters, it will be true all the time if they are equal, exactly equal. So, but what do you think? Let me write array here, 1, 2. Let me write another array here, 1, 2. It looks like they should be equal as well, right? It should be true, right?
Yeah.
But let's see in our it is saved. Coming from line number 12, this is array 1, 2. This is array 1, 2. And we're saying this is true. So then let's finally go with objects here. Something is interesting here. Let me have the same name here and here. And we save it. And this is not true. So actually that behavior is also coming from array. Array is also like object, but these are special objects. That's why we call them array. But especially we are looking about at objects here, this object. And that feedback is holding your objects coming from your API. And now you can see here, this and this are false. This looks the same object, but these are not equal. Right? So this is because of that non-primitive behavior, but I was assuming that this would be also false. It is coming true, right? Let me see. Oh, now it is coming false. Something wrong. Because this is also non-primitive value. It should be false. Those non-primitive values which are exactly same are not equal actually. And this is false. Previously we are seeing true, right? Maybe our application was not refreshed, maybe I think. This is not true. So then we have primitive as well as non-primitive value. Primitive means mainly string, you can say the string and number, you can say, but still we have null, we have undefined, we have like not a number. These are all primitive values. This will be always equal to each other. Let's see. Console log undefined. We have undefined as well. Undefined is equals to undefined. And this is true. Means this is a primitive value. So primitive values are always equal to each other if they are same, but non-primitive values are not equal to each other. Although they look same, they look same, but they are not same. This object here and this object here are stored in your memory heap inside JavaScript engine in different location. Although they are pointed from same location in your call stack, they are stored in different location in your memory heap. So you don't need to understand, go in that much depth right now. What you need to understand is the objects are everything apart from these things here that we have seen. If that is not a string, if that is not a number, if that is not null, if that is not undefined, if that is not NaN, everything else are objects in JavaScript. So objects are actually non-primitive values. They are not equal if they look same. So then array is also object, and object is object, right? And function is also object. These are actually non-primitive values that will not be equal to each other. That's why the array is coming from your API here. And that array is stored here in your feedback, right? And you are writing feedback as a dependency. So each and every time it will check the previous feedback to the current feedback, and it will see it looks same, but that is actually the data type coming from your API is array here, and array is not equal to the another array, although it looks same, because they are stored in different locations. They are non-primitive values, you can say. That's why it is assuming that it is changing all the time. The feedback coming from previous time and the current feedback is not same. It will say false, then it will re-render. It will execute use effect. That's why it was going on like infinite loop previously.
Mm.
Okay.
So are you saying you cannot use an object as a dependency?
Uh, if it is creating, if that object is changing each and every time, if the brand new object is created, if new object is coming, then you cannot use that object as a dependency here.
Okay.
If that object is same, okay, if that object is pointing to the same object all the time, if it is not changing, if it is not coming from your API, if it is still here inside your application, at that time it is okay to write there. Okay. So two objects created in different time are not equal to each other, actually.
So Gaurav, this is the time that we use memo, right? Because use memo uh, would track the value of the dependency object and not the location of the dependency object.
Absolutely right. Yeah. That's why later, to actually remember your non-primitive values, objects or functions, we will use something called memorization in React. There is a concept called memorization in React. There we have something called memo, memorizing something. There we have something called callback. We'll see those hooks sometimes later in React memorization. We have use callback and use memo hook. We'll use those hooks to remember some of those things, but we will not use all those memorization all the time. Yeah, we have those memorization techniques as well to remember something. We'll implement that later.
So Gaurav, would it be a rule of thumb to use effect for the primitive dependencies and to use something like use memo for the object dependencies?
No, no, no. That is not correct. Use memo is different thing. We will not use memo all the time. So use memo means if something in your application is changing too many times in a lot of locations. Let's say that when you refresh or when you click somewhere, your state is changing 1,000 times. Maybe your state is consumed by a lot of components, that's why it is changing. Then if your state is changing too many times, then we will use memo hook. Otherwise, if your state is just rendering once, then we don't need to use memo, because use memo will impact your performance as well. So use memo, those memorization techniques means if some state in your application is changing too many times, too frequently, then we will use memorization. Okay, so use effect means just to re-render your application. Whenever you want to re-render your application, use effect. Okay, yeah, we are talking about these dependencies as well. We'll deal with actual dependencies while we are, maybe we'll create another project where we have to deal with those situations. All right, is this fine? Yeah, but just look at yourself, okay? Sometimes just try to do yourself and just ask me something if you are writing some dependency here and not working, and we are also going to implement it. Okay, then we created our post request here. So this is done now. Post is done, get is also done. We can do this too as well easily. So do you think you can implement this yourself? This is actually create. This is actually fetch feedback. We have delete feedback, similar name. So let's write another one. Let's try to implement this update then. Let's try to implement this update. And we can also implement this delete. So you will need to write another function called update feedback, right? And oh, okay. So actually this will, if you are consuming this function somewhere, it will take some time to send requests to your API as well, because we are sending some data. So if you want to return something from this function, then at that time, you will need to implement async here as well. Maybe we'll do that. Currently, it is not needed. That's why no async is written here. Maybe if you are consuming some data from your API, then at that time, you need to actually write async here. Then after you send your data inside fetch here, right here, we need to await some of the data coming from your API. At that time, we need to implement async, but right now it is not needed. So similar fetch function for update now. Now we need to change what happened. I think I missed that arrow function. Now we need to change this one to put. Okay, so just try to do this yourself now if you can. Okay, and let's take some break as well here. We need to implement one more function. First, let me write it there. First, delete feedback from DB, because I think delete feedback is another function around there. Here we have delete feedback from DB. We will write similar fetch here. I'm not removing something, but I'm just writing the request method here. So if you need body, then you need to write body there. If you don't need body, then you don't need to write body. So we need to implement these two. Okay, just try it if you can. First, let me post this code to our repository in GitHub. Let's try to grab this code from there and try to implement this functionality. And let's go into break as well, and we'll complete this after break. We'll implement update feedback and delete feedback. All right. So let me send this one. We added prod functions there. Okay, do you want to ask me something before going into break session? All right, then let's meet after 10 minutes. Is this fine, everyone?
Yeah, good.
All right. Hello everyone. I think it's more than 10 minutes already. Can we start now?
Let's go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so my screen is visible, right? Did you try to complete this update and delete request yourself? Okay, so then let's do it together. We need to delete something. So what do you think? What should we accept here while deleting some of our data from database?
We need to accept ID.
The ID?
Yeah, we just need to know which data need to be deleted, right? And it is
Yes.
sufficient to have only ID, because that ID is unique for each and every data, which is uniquely pointed. So that's why we'll accept ID here. And what will we send here to delete something? Do we need to send some data?
No.
No?
No, sir.
Then we don't need to send some data, right? Because we just want to
Yeah.
delete it.
Yeah.
But where do we need to send this ID then?
In endpoint after feedback.
Yeah, after feedback, we will send this ID here at the endpoint. Then this is a JavaScript. Can I write JavaScript here directly using this
Yeah.
sign? I need to change this double quote to backtick as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So will it work? Then where should I need to call this function then? Where do I need to call this function?
On like that cross sign, on handling that cross sign. Yeah.
This one, right?
Yeah.
So where is this cross sign located?
In feedback list.
Feedback
In
list.
feedback.
Then
Yeah.
in feedback, yeah, correct. In feedback, right here. Then I need to send this to feedback.
Yeah.
Right? Through
Yes.
feedback list, right?
Yeah.
And let's do this. Or, oh, we have this delete feedback already available in our app. Don't you think so? This is already available here. And when it is called, when it is clicked, then this delete feedback, this function will run. This function is already here. And ID is already here as well. Can I call that this function instead of sending there? Can I call delete feedback right here after setting the
Yes.
feedback?
Yes.
Yes, eventually it will come here, right?
Yeah.
It should work. Yeah, that's right. So let's see. So we are deleting this feedback from database and we need to send ID there. This is the ID. And it should work now, right?
Yes.
Because we are calling this function once we hit this cross sign. It should work. Okay, let's see. So this is our data. And I'm going to delete the first one, React is awesome, this one. So let's click here. Once I click on OK, it should remove this one from here. It is removed from here with the help of this state updating function, and it should delete that data from database as well. It is done by this delete feedback from DB function. Let's see. Can you see? Is it gone?
Yes.
Gone from database? Yeah, it is deleted. Yeah. So we are deleting from both the location, from our React application as well as from our database. So if you refresh, then only this will come. So what will happen if you do not write this line of code? What will happen if I delete this feedback?
the change in
Will
the
it?
state is not tracked, so it would not re-render.
Yeah, it will not re-render, means it will not be updated in real time from in the DOM, right? In the browser.
Yeah.
But it
Yes.
will be deleted from database, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's why we are updating our state in our application as well once when we are deleting. The same behavior is achieved later by Redux. That is really important. In real world application, you will not write these things most of the time. You will use Redux if that needs to be done through the application, throughout the application. But you can still use this use state hook if that is located within the component. And just see, if I delete from here, it is not gone from here, but it is gone from our database. If I refresh now, it will be not visible. Yeah. So that is about delete feature. Let's have this 3 feedback here. Can you do another one? Update one? Put or patch? Let's do put then. So we need to, okay, while we are updating something, so what is the difference between put and patch once again?
Like put does what put does is like it like like it re-updates everything, like suppose I want to update like I have name, email, and password. I only want to update password, then patch only update password, but put like rewrites the same value to email, name as well.
Okay, then what do you think? If I want to update something, I need to add some edit button here then, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, I cannot update it from here.
Mhm.
Then we need to have another icon. Maybe we need to implement that edit functionality.
Yeah.
Then we need to update this resource, or we want to update the whole resource. Then
No.
we need to yeah.
Yeah, on singular component type,
Okay,
like singular list. Yeah.
let's let's suppose that we have button here. Then do we need to send put request or patch request?
Like we can do either of them.
We can do either of things. Then what will be the difference if we write put, then later if we write patch?
Difference. Maybe in performance, like I haven't used patch. Like I generally used, I have like used put, since patch is like maintaining versions kind of thing. So I'm not sure what will exactly happen then.
Yeah, correct. Then we still need something there. We still need to implement our edit functionality that we currently do not have. So can we keep this as a to do then? Will you try yourself first? To do and implement update feedback, and we'll complete it. But uh, can I put this on pending today, or do you want to continue this one today? Do you think you can try it yourself first?
Yes.
Let's discuss first. While you are updating some resource, what do we need to accept here?
ID.
ID is sufficient. Do we need to
Yeah.
send some data? Don't we need
Yeah,
to
we need
send
to
some data?
yes, we need to send some data.
Then we need to accept data as well, right?
Yes, yes, yeah, both.
We need to know the location as well as data,
Yeah.
right? So that's why we need to accept ID as well as data, actual data that we want to update there. Yeah, just a second, guys. Yeah, sorry about that. I have some background here. Okay. So yeah, what we were talking is we need to accept ID, and we need to know the location. Location can be known from ID. We need to know what data we need to update. That's why we need to accept ID as well as data. Then we need to have body here, right? From where we
Yeah,
will send
body.
data. Yeah. and we'll send that data in JSON format. Okay, so that's all. And then where will you call this function, update feedback?
On every submit. After editing, like if we hit like edit button, like we fetch the value, and on successful like value change and submit, we need to update.
Correct, yeah. So when you have some button here, then the value, this value should appear here, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
this rating should also appear here.
Yeah.
And then you will change your value, and once you submit it, you need to know if you are updating or not. Otherwise, how can you know? Are you adding a new feedback or are you updating, right?
Yeah.
You need to know if you are updating or not. Then you need to have one prop like is updating, something like that. If that is updating is true, that will be true if you click here. Then you will send this update request. Just try it yourself. It's interesting actually. Then we'll do it together. All right. Any question, guys? Okay, then. So okay, we can actually implement some delay as well while that data is coming from your API. Maybe we have some delay here as well. Let me search. This is just a fake delay. In your real React application, you will have delay as well. Let's have some delay here. So in your backend, right here, um, let's have some delay of around 3 seconds. This is in millisecond, that's why 3000, 3 seconds. Now we need to restart the server once again. Yeah, and server, then it will have delay now. Now, if you go here, if you refresh your application, no data, and after 3 seconds, your data will come. There is a delay, right? Usually it will happen in your real React application as well. Maybe we can implement some loader there, right? So like maybe you can have loader CSS as well. Maybe let's see something like this. It is very easy to implement, I think. Let me copy this one and go. So before your data is coming, let's go to app.css. So before your data is coming, you need to actually implement the loader. So where is your data coming? In your feedback list actually, right? Here we are checking if we have our data or not. Instead of saying no data found, let's have that spinner here. And in React, we write class name instead of class, right? Oh, where is this loader coming from? This is coming from, let's say, we have feedback list. We need to implement our CSS here. So it consists of some CSS. Let me grab this all here. And currently, let me go and put this in global CSS then. You can just grab it from here and put this in your respective CSS file. I have a loader class. This is a loader class. This is just a CSS, which is having some border and some width and height, 120 pixel width and height, you can see. And it has some animation like spin 2-second linear infinite. So this is spinning because of this property here. And we have this key. So it should actually rotate from 0 degree to 360 degree. That's why it is rotating here. So these all CSS are applied to this spinner. This div actually. So now loader is also here. It should work now, I think. Let's go. Let's see. Let me refresh it now. Yeah, can you see? This is the loader we have. And after 3 seconds, your data will come. Right? You can do it in better way as well. For example, Like if you want, you can put this loader in center. This is the loader here, and let's have another CSS class name. This is like loader wrapper. This is not a good way of putting CSS in index.css, right? I assume that you will grab this CSS from here and put this on either feedback list.module.css or implement it using styled component. But let's write it here. That is loader wrapper, right? Loader wrapper. We are writing CSS here for the loader wrapper, and we want to send this loader wrapper on the center. Maybe this is coming on the left. Maybe we can write margin auto. Let's see. Press it. Oh, okay. This loader is not going on center because both of them having the same width. That's why it is not going, I think. Maybe we can implement it in a simpler way. That is, this is having content, then we can make it flex. We have something called, by default, your CSS will be of type block. Your div element will be of type block. This is the default CSS display block. We can change this and make this to flex. If you make this to flex, then what you can do is write flex direction or justify content. You can write justify content, then take this to the center. Let's see. Yeah, now it is on center. So yeah, you can also write right here. It is taken to the right. This is just adding flex property there. Without flex property, it is like a block which is consuming its position from left to right. That's why it was not going on the center previously. And display flex is really popular. We can write grid as well. There is something called grid, display grid. If you are writing display grid, then you cannot write this justify content. Justify content is just for flex. You can write place content actually, and you can write place content center. Now this will be taken to center once again. So grid and flex are different concepts in CSS. These are like layout, positioning something on the browser actually. So for flex we will write. So if you have flex, then you can actually let me increase the height. Okay, height is maybe, let's say 400 pixel, and let me have some background color as well so that I can see it. Background color is purple, let's say. Now the height is increased. This is the purple background. Maybe border radius to 50%. Now it is 50%. So let me make this width as well. Width is also, let's say 400 pixel. Now this is like a square. It will be a circle now. So we have a circle here. Now we want to place this loader at the center of this circle. So this is really easy with grid. If you have grid here, what you can write is place content center with grid, and it will be on the center with grid. With flex, what you need to do is use two property. You cannot use place content here. Now you need to use either justify content is to move it in horizontal direction. For example, if you do not have this justify content currently, this is on the left. Now let's put this on the center from the horizontal direction. Okay, currently let me not remove this one. Okay, so let me always load this loader here. So I want to comment this one currently. this one as well. I will always load this loader. Okay, this is on the horizontal direction on the left. If you write justify content center, it will go on the right center. And if you write now we can write align items as well with flex. With flex only we can write justify content and align items. Justify content is to move something on the horizontal direction at the center. Align items means to move something on the vertical direction at the center. Now it will be moved to the vertical direction and it will be placed on the center here. Okay, that's why it is center now. Yeah, so yeah, just try sometimes maybe. Let me remove the width now. We have some small border radius, or completely remove it from here. Now it is on the center here. All right, so that is just regarding CSS is not that much difficult to implement, but difficult to learn as well. It will take some time to actually write better CSS. So what we are doing is initially for 3 seconds, loader will appear there, and after 3 seconds, your data is coming. Okay, you can implement the same behavior when you are grabbing some data from API. Maybe you can have some spinner as well. You can try it yourself. Okay, so maybe spinner GIF. You can do it however you want. For example, let's say we want this one. Is it a spinner? Yeah. Let's save this image. Maybe we can have some folder called inside source. We want assets. Maybe and inside assets you can just save this image. I didn't need to go to desktop. Okay, let's grab this and this here. Now we have a loader here. Just try to use this loader. So instead of actually rendering this div here in the feedback list, you can just render this loader. Just have that image there and you can have that. Okay, or you can create a custom component, maybe a common component called spinner here, maybe spinner.jsx, and that spinner will actually spin your that spinner will actually contain that image. Maybe we are doing this in alternative way. If you have image, so let's say this is a spinner. It is coming from actually. Let me import it. Okay, import that is a loader from. So where am I currently? Inside component. I need to go one step inside common, right? I need to go one step up. Now I'm inside component. I need to go one step up. Now I am inside src. Now I need to go inside assets. Now I need to actually have that loader here, loader.gif. This loader is here. You can have this loader here now, and you can say this is a simple spinner or loader. That's all. Now instead of having your div here, maybe you can render this spinner here, right? Let's see. Yeah, now we have our spinner here. So yeah, you can try in alternative way. These are just like doing something visually, making something visually good on your screen, right? Instead of doing something related to data coming from database. All right. Any question, guys? Are you stuck at something? Some concept here? Do you want to ask me something? Let me send these things to GitHub. What did we do, we deleted feedback and added loader. Okay.
Garak, I have a question.
Yeah. Please.
It's not about the project. It's about so I was what is it? Instead of cloning the project, I had just downloaded the zip file and was like working on it on my own, like as you taught. But so
Okay.
I tried cloning the project, but when I run, how do you get it to run from your branch? It won't let me run it from your branch. It keeps running it from the main branch.
Yeah. So are you able to switch the branch?
Yeah,
Maybe.
I switched it to your branch, and then I hit yarn dev, and it still won't run. I
Oh,
can share my
okay.
screen and show you real quick.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So, second.
Yeah, I can see the screen.
Yeah, so I'm on your branch, but when
Okay.
I hit yarn dev, it
Alan,
says
let's go
dev.
to just go to feedback app first. There is a folder called feedback app. We are doing our project there in feedback app. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now,
And now do
okay.
yarn dev.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
dev is changed to client. You need to once again go to front
Oh,
end
that's right.
because
We changed
yeah.
the
First you need to go to front end and then do yarn client because we have front end folder there inside feedback, right?
and then yarn client.
Okay. Right. Okay, it says something command couldn't found. Can you write ls there? Let's
Yeah.
see. What are the files? Okay. Can you expand feedback app from the left inside your VS Code? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Expand front end as well. Okay, first just install the dependencies. Can you just type yarn only? Just type yarn and hit enter there. Okay, it is now installing dependencies. First, we need to install dependencies and then we can start our project.
Okay.
Now try
Because
writing yarn.
I hit yarn. I thought I added the dependencies before because it showed that. So let's try it. Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, it is working now.
Yeah, now it's working. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Right, so it's time to introduce context as well in our application. We are doing many things here. We implemented CRUD functionalities, we implemented server, something like backend. Now let's go and implement actual context. Instead of passing this from here, right? We are doing something which is not good in React. We are passing these props, a lot of props through. We are doing prop drilling here. With context, it is really easy to do those things. So now let's introduce context then. Context is like, we already explained, we already have a conceptual session regarding context, right? So then will you understand if I directly create a folder context here, can I create a folder context? Previously I told you, right? Maybe we have that here somewhere inside basic React or somewhere. Maybe we have that context somewhere. Or do we have extra folder like with React, yarn? Do we have context here? We implemented context somewhere, I think, right? In state management, I think. Okay, yeah, here. We implemented context here. And inside context, we created our context. And we accepted that context in here, main.jsx. Let's repeat that thing once again. Let's go and create one folder called context. We have it here. Now let's have our context like feedback context. And oh, I think this is not a folder. Oh, I was doing correctly. Sorry for that. I need to do it once again. I need to just have that extension. Context.jsx. And here we will use something called create context. And that create context will create a context that is a feedback context. This is a feedback context now. Now let's export it from here. And where do we need to go now to use this context? We exported this context from here, right? Now, where do we need to go? Where should we use that context? You forgot about context? In state management, we have our context here, right? Then we used this context here, right? In which file? Main.jsx. Why we used this context here in main.jsx?
So it will
any
be
idea?
available to everyone, like, so the value will be available to every components inside main. So it's actually app.
Yeah. App is rendering the most topmost component, you can say, in React currently we have available. So everything is rendering inside app. So we are supplying our data from app to every other components. So that's why we are using it in main. So can I now use our context inside main here? Let me wrap our context. Let me remove the strict mode for now. We'll talk about it sometimes later. Strict mode is also required actually, but I'm just wrapping it with context now. That is feedback context, right? Feedback context. So it is imported here. And okay. Do we need something more here? Something more? From context, let's go inside state management. The application is braked now. And inside main.jsx, what did we do here previously?
We pass value as on, right?
100, and we have something like this, provider.
Yeah.
We need provider as well. Okay. So let's go inside here and write provider. Provider. Okay, that's fine. We don't have value yet, but we can pass value as well. But it is working currently. Everything is rendering inside context, and that data, we are not using context currently, but we just wrapped with context. This is the basic setup for context, right? We created a context here, just a line of code. We accepted that context here and wrapped. Something is coming from context, which is called provider. We wrapped our app with this feedback.provider. And it is working now. So you can just say implementing context now. Let me commit. There is an importance of commit as well. Let's see. First, let me commit git pmp and oh, sorry, added context provider or wrapper, you can say. So I have a lot of commits here. You can see. Let me clear this out, and I can write git log. I can see these commits here, many commits. So I can. This is the topmost one, right? So I just can migrate through this commit, move through these commits. For example, let's just suppose that I want to go here. This is the ID for that particular commit. I want to go to this edit crowd functionalities. So at that time, or I will just copy this ID and I will go at that time. So what I will do it, write git checkout and just the ID. And if I hit enter now can you see? I just moved to the previous version. I don't have context now. I just traveled into the past, right? So at that point, here I only implemented that fetch, I think. Okay, we have update and delete as well. Okay, here, but yeah, I think this is also done at that time while I commit with that added crowd functionalities. So now I travel to the past. I don't have the latest code. I don't have the context folder here, I think, right? In the front end. Now if I go to the Git history, it says you are detached from the head state. The Git. Now my commits are coming from here. So how can I now move to the latest one? Top commit. This is called head. The top is now head. You can see on GitHub as well. I can go to, let me go to my repo here really quick. I just want to go to, oh, I'm not logged in, I think. Just something like that. I think I need to bring another and the browser here. Okay, this one. And you can see on my branch here, I have the commits, 84 commits, and this is the topmost one, edit context provider. Currently I am here, right? Currently I am here at this location. I can go back wherever I want just by copying this ID. Now let me go to the top. This is the ID for that top commit. And I can just write git checkout the ID of the top commit. Now I'm currently at the top. Once again, I have this context folder here. In this way, this is the importance of commit. You can just travel through commits. You don't have to actually write your code if you just want to see what I've done at that particular point in the history. You can just travel through those points by just traveling through that commits. That's why commits are important.
Guruk, how did you list all those commits again?
Yeah, you can just write git log. So if you just write git log, it will also provide you commits here, but it is providing you author, date. Now just name of the commit. You can just write enter flag double hyphen one line. It will provide you commits in a single line here now. Okay. Just search for this command if you want something more, maybe more commits to be printed here, less commits to be printed here. The main command that I used is this git log one line. All right, so yeah, now we implemented context. Let's do something. Let's actually send some data from context then. We don't have value until now. Previously, what we did is with context, we are sending value directly here. So let's do one more thing. Now we'll not write provided here. We'll not write value here. We'll just write context there. What I'm trying to say is in our app component, not in app main.jsx, we'll not just write feedback context. Now provided is not there. It will not work now. It will break actually. Application is broken and you can see here a lot of errors. We need to fix it. So this is children. It is coming into feedback context. So let's go there. Okay. instead of context, let me write some special component that I will create there. That is a separate component. This is not a context that we are using, the same context. Let's say we will create a component called feedback provider. Feedback provider will be a component that we will create inside context, and we'll wrap this. So let's go there and create a function called feedback provider. So let's see, or we can use arrow function as well, const feedback provider. So let me export it from here. And here into feedback provider, I will accept a children. And that app is a children now. It will come here. And I will return that children. I'll return that children uh, inside feedback context now. It is the same thing actually. Inside feedback context dot provider. Now feedback provider is actually returning feedback context dot provider. That's why I can wrap it there. And there we will render children. This is the same thing, but we are writing it in alternative way. So something is wrong here. Did you mean?
You have a typo, children, line 5.
Spelling of the children.
Oh, sorry. Is it fine now? Okay. This is the same thing, right? Writing this feedback provider here, accepting some children and sending this. This will be now replaced by here. Feedback provider will be replaced by this whole code. This whole code will be replaced whatever coming from here, just by this line of code. This is the same thing. That's why I'm wrapping this with feedback provider, sending app there. Now accepting that app here. This is the app. Children is app, right? App component. Now rendering app component here inside feedback provider. Once again, feedback context dot provider. So I'm doing everything in context here. So it is clean, nice and clean here. Just a feedback provider. Now everything regarding context is done here. So that I don't have to deal with that value, because value will be not a single value. There we will see a lot of functionalities or a lot of other functions as well. So many code will be written inside main.jsx. That's why I just want to write feedback provider, then rest of the thing will be written here. So now we need that feedback here. Instead of fetching it here inside app.jsx, this one, we need this here. And we will send this feedback as a value. Are you getting me? We'll send this feedback as a value here. Feedback. Now feedback is sent as a value. It will work now. So something is not working still. Let's see. I think this is not imported there, right? Feedback provider. Okay, it should work now. Okay, still it is not working. Let's go there. So use state is not defined because we are using use state here. Once again, I should define this one. Okay, it is working now. We are still not using context, right? We are just creating a context, sending a value, but we are not consuming the value sent from the context. Correct? We will now take all of these things that we did in app to the context. So let's paste this into the context. Fetch and use effect.
Guruk, why was it working even though we were not using the context at all?
Because we are passing the props. Still we are using these props. And we are accepting that props. We are just wrapping with the context. That is just a wrapper, right? We haven't actually used use context. Instead of using use context, we are still passing these props.
Okay.
That's why with context as well, you can still pass props. still use context, both at the same time. We do that all the time in React. If you don't just need to pass props to the second component only, if you want to just communicate between two components, then it's fine to pass props. But if you want to communicate between multiple components with a single prop, then we will use context. We can mix this up together. Right? So finally, let's grab this from here. I'll just copy for now. And I think it will be great if I can put this in another folder called services maybe, or API request maybe, and put all of these operations there. But for now, let me paste it here. Fetch feedback. And we need to call this from use effect. We are just doing it, but we are passing the value, but we are not using. Remember that we are not using this. That's why it is working. Working from the props once again. Something is wrong here. Maybe we can see and directly find what is the issue on the console. It says use effect is not working because it is not imported. Okay, fine. So we actually accepted, we fetched data from API. We updated the feedback. We are sending it to feedback. Oh, sorry, it to our application through values now. Okay, now I think we can use our feedback. We don't need to pass props anymore. Let's go there. Here, I am passing a first feedback to feedback stat. Let me remove this from here. Can I do that? Because it is coming from context, why do I need to pass it? Right? I'm removing it. Now I'm going to feedback stat. I don't need to accept it here as well. Look how clean it is going to be. So now I am finally going to accept that feedback from context. How can I accept the value from context now?
Use context.
Yeah, that's right. We will use a hook called use context. And what should I pass here? Inside use context?
The name of
The name of the context. Yeah, that is feedback context, right? Everything is importing on the top as soon as I'm selecting it, okay? Make sure that it is imported. So what will I receive from the context?
the array of feedbacks.
Feedback.
The feedback itself into an object, right? So what is this context? If I write context here, is it a feedback?
It is a feedback.
It is coming inside an object actually, right? Then we will restructure it here and write feedback here. Let's see. Now it is not working. Something is wrong here. Let's see what is coming here into the context. Let me just write a context then. Just write a feedback then. Now application is breaking. So it cannot actually do something regarding feedback.
Do we not you need
But
to export that value of the feedback context?
What was that?
Have we exported that value from the feedback context?
Context, right? Let's go there. In context. In context, we are sending it to from where? From this value, right? It should come there. Do we need to export it once again anywhere? We are always exporting, already exporting it, already wrapped it, right? Wall provider. So what do you think? What is wrong? I think it is working. Is it? Initially, it was not because it is fetching data from API, taking some time, and after 3 seconds, it is working because this fetching and this fetching are different. This is later called once this is done. Right? It is working. It is coming. It is extracting data from API. It is taking some time. You can say loading until that point. Later, we will migrate everything back to our context and we'll see everything will work at the same time. Currently, something is working from context, something is not. But it is fine now. We successfully extracted our data. Now look, we don't have to pass any prop here. There is no prop drilling. We don't have to accept that prop here. We just want to consume the value coming from the context directly, writing the name of the context, writing the value that is supplied from the context. The value is here. This is the feedback we are sending, and the same feedback is here. We are receiving it, right? Okay, so I think now you can try it yourself. Just try sending more here. Grab more things from here, maybe add feedback, delete feedback, other request from here into the context now. And later we'll delete that from app.jsx, grab everything here into the context and send more here. Maybe we will send more data after feedback, right? After just by writing command, we'll send more data here and accept those data in the respective components and implement everything with context and remove that prop drilling from app.jsx. You need to remove this this one as well and this one as well. Do you think you can do that? You can try it before tomorrow's session. I think currently you have your holiday coming, right? Holiday season there, I think, right? Maybe you'll you'll not have time, that much time. Maybe you are traveling somewhere else. So that's why just try to do before going into your weekend, maybe, because we need to do it together. Otherwise, if I just do it myself, think you will not ask me more questions, and I cannot actually. Maybe I'm missing something that is important to you. That's why just ask me some questions. To ask me some questions, you need to first try it yourself, right? Otherwise, you don't have any idea what is going there. That's why I'm saying just try to do it yourself. Give around 1 hour with this application, maybe before coming into tomorrow's session. Just ask me some questions and then we can discuss and complete this. We will complete context as well tomorrow. Maybe you know React Router DOM as well. Just try to add that package here as well. Just try to install React Router DOM, another package, implement routing functionalities as well. Say that just put this feedback stat in the different route, maybe have some navigation here, home, stat, something like that. And if you click on home, then this will appear there. If you click on stats tab, then stat will come there. Maybe you can list only feedbacks in the different tab as well. Just try to add React Router DOM yourself as well. And another thing is try to implement this feature as well. We are typing something here, and if I hit enter, this is not cleared out. Maybe you can try it as well. Okay. Do you have something for me? Some questions before ending this session for today?
Gurk, why do we have two curly braces inside of the value in feedback context.js?
Yeah. Here, right?
Yes.
Do anybody have any idea why are we writing two curly braces here?
Is it because we need to destructure it and also we're working with JavaScript code?
No. Nothing regarding destructuring is done here.
Yes, because feedback.
First JavaScript and then object.
Correct, yeah. We need to first go inside JavaScript, right? This curly brace is for JavaScript. We cannot write directly object there, can we? Without going into JavaScript, can I directly write object? Is it an object? You cannot say this an object. This is just a feedback variable without object. So we are passing our values inside object through context we will pass multiple values later. So that's why we need to first go inside JavaScript. Go inside JavaScript first, because we need to go inside JavaScript inside JSX, right? In order to write JavaScript, it can be done with this interpolation operator, curly brace. Now we can write JavaScript here. Now let's create an object. To create object, we'll write curly brace. Now let's create a property of that object, that is feedback. And let's provide the value for that property. That is also feedback, right? And I told you with modern JavaScript, you don't have to write the same name if it is the same variable as a property. You can just write feedback here.
Cool.
Is this fine?
Yes.
Yeah, any more question, guys? And just try one more thing. I just remember, we are running this server and the client from the two terminal. Will you try from the same terminal with a single command, maybe yarn start or yeah, some custom script with a single command, just try to start both server and the client at the same time with a single command, so that we don't need to worry about going into different terminal and going into different folders, starting server and the client. The hint is you can implement it yourself as well. Maybe sometimes that will be complex. There is a popular package to do that for us. That is called concurrently. Have you heard about it? This one. This will run your commands concurrently, means together. And so yeah, just install this package in your React application and just go with the documentation. You'll see you need to write a single command where you will actually write a command for your front end, write a command for your backend. Now with this single command, both your front end and backend will start. All right. Are you getting what am I saying here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just try to run your server and the client with a single command using this package. Yeah, these are the things you can try. Sometimes this will help you if you try it yourself to ask some questions in the session. Okay, so maybe we'll try to do this tomorrow. I don't know how much we will go far tomorrow. We need to finish this application as soon as possible. Until now, you may have realized that while building application, it will take time. It is, yeah, I can provide you some code which are already written. Like I provided you like the CSS. I provided you some code which are already written, means that is not that much good, right? If I can do this line by line, write this code line by line, then it will help you to understand more things. That's why either I can provide you, I will provide you some code and finish these applications early. Otherwise, if we are going to build a real application, then it will definitely take some time. So that's why we will create projects later, but if we have small projects, then we can do in shorter time. If we want to implement a lot of functionalities, then it will take some time. That's why maybe at the end, slightly at the end, we will have one capstone project which will include all of the concepts that we are learning in React. So wait for that time. Until then, we will not create a big application in between. We will have a small application which will just explain the feature that we are currently learning. Okay. So yeah, for this application, we'll write everything. That's why we'll also write CSS. I'll remove CSS from here. Maybe we will write CSS, all the CSS required for our application. If possible, maybe tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, guys. So can we end this session for today then? If you don't have any question. All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for staying with me. It is really hard to actually stay for such a longer session. You need to practice as well yourself. So I appreciate that you are interacting with me as well, asking me questions. So maybe we will interact. Just ask me more questions tomorrow so that I can answer your queries if possible. So I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good day. Good night.
Thank you, Gorak. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Gorak.